Got it. Hi, Mo. How are you doing today?
Fantastic, Amy. How are you?
I'm doing good, really good. So I'm going to ask you about 10 questions, just to get a good feel as to how things have been going so far, and also your recommendations. So let's begin with question one. So why did you need a virtual assistant?
I needed a virtual assistant to help keep me organized, to take some of the tasks off of my hands that were tasks that I could easily pass off to someone else to handle while I was focused on other more in-depth type issues and situations. And it freed up my time to be able to have conversations with um, people that, I'm trying to connect and partner with for this initiative.
How did you hear about the term virtual assistant compared to an office assistant or a personal assistant? Like, what attracted you to the virtual assistant profession?
So, with everyone, once COVID hit, so I had heard of virtual assistant before COVID, but once COVID hit and everyone went working remotely from home, virtual assistant positions and just like marketing exploded, right? You saw it everywhere.
I noticed.
Specifically for me, I did not consider getting a virtual assistant until one day I downloaded and received, like, use a virtual assistant. Like, they don't necessarily need to be here with you as long as you can communicate with them through multiple platforms, right?
Yeah.
It was just as productive as having somebody in office. So it seemed like a no-brainer, and why not try it? And I just so happened to know somebody who was beginning a VA business, so why not? It seemed to fit, it seemed aligned.
What made you happiest? What made you happiest about working with me?
What makes me happiest about working with you? Your attitude.
My attitude, okay. Could you elaborate on that one?
First and foremost, your attitude. You are positive, you're optimistic, you're thorough, you are organized, you stay on top of me, which I appreciate. Your attitude and your personality, though, goes a long way, because on my end, with what I'm dealing with, it can get pretty heavy. So when I speak with you, you're very optimistic and upbeat. So that brings me back to where I know I need to be. But with that said, you are also, like I said, you're very organized, you are thorough. You are consistently following up with me and reminding me of things.
Yeah.
You're fitting, you're checking the boxes for what was important to me.
What have you been able to achieve since you've hired me?
Buy back my time, which is like the biggest things, so that I can allocate that time to other important tasks, priority tasks that I've really wanted to tackle. We've accomplished strategies, or the launching of certain strategies, with your thorough, again, feedback and research. When it came to the social media launch, I didn't have the time to research how to do the grids and all of that, and scheduling and all of that for social media, so having somebody that's resourceful, that's a huge accomplishment, because I don't feel like I have to go behind you all the time. The only, and I say go behind you sounds kind of like, for lack of a better term, because I can't think of one right now, but just
more like supervision or monitoring.
Thank you. More supervision. But the supervision is just making sure that the language that's being used, right, for social media is just, it's how I want it to be reflected, and that's just simply a different thinking and, actually being in it versus being a part of it. So accomplishing that, accomplishing the whole sponsorship part of it, like for what we were able to get done on that part, super helpful, like super helpful. And your patience with that,
Yeah.
and,
What has exceeded your expectations since hiring me? I think you actually answered that question. Wait, but I would like to hear that from you again. So let's go on with that.
In all honesty, again, your thoroughness, because I know I've had to do a lot of research. So for you to be able to come back and summarize a lot of the research that I've asked you to do, and it being clear, right, understandable, allowing to know how to move forward if I choose to move forward. Organization, like I can't speak enough to your optimism and just your will, your motivation to want to keep doing this and be better and learn more.
Someone who is considering my services, what would you tell them about, me or the services or hiring a virtual assistant as a whole?
Well, I would say, I think I was fortunate to come across you. Well, I didn't find you, right? Like there was a prior relationship there, sort of.
Yeah.
And like I said, it happened to fit. So the virtual assistant, job itself, I think it's super beneficial. I think it's a necessity, especially with some people, being remote or working for themselves. Like it's a great asset to have. I think some people maybe won't be as fortunate as I was to find someone who is as open as you are and as skillful as you are. Maybe they might have to go through a couple before they find the right one, but the actual virtual assistant position itself, I think is super beneficial. It's resourceful. Again, it's a necessity. There's a lot of productivity that can come with it. For someone like myself, I get to buy some time back, which is a really big thing in my life because it's not just this that I'm working on, like it's other things that I'm working on. I will say this though, if you were, so it is not a negative thing that you're in another country, because you have truly been able to make it work. Our time difference isn't so distant that it throws us off or we're unable to communicate. Like it's really worked for us. Would say though, depending on what the person needs a virtual assistant for, because if you were here where I'm at, like, in this state, I would probably use you for a bunch of other stuff, right? Because I have you here closer. But for what it is, for what it is and for what it's worth, I'm super satisfied.
Was there anything I could have done differently though, to, add up or alleviate more tasks, or, something different? Come, give me some constructive criticism, something.
I don't think it's
throw it at me.
I don't think it's what you could have done differently. I think as time continues, it's what I'm willing to relinquish control of, right? So it's not do differently, because I feel like what you have done has been satisfactory. And if there was something that I felt I needed to address, right? Just for example, I'm trying to think of something I mean, I don't address you about a lot of things, but I know there was a few things, like maybe I feel like maybe one of it was something about writing or something.
It could be the language, because mine is more British and yours is more US. So it could be about the different grammar, structures.
I think it was something
that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it was something along those lines. I can't remember exactly, but I know it had to do with like communication. But you were open to it, like you again, we can have that dialogue and express why I think it's this way or why I want it to be this way versus how you did it. And it's not a personal thing. It's probably the dialect, right? Or I just have process on how I want to present something. And you wouldn't necessarily know that because you're not in my head. And it's for me
Mm-hmm.
to be sure that I verbally express that to you so that you can hopefully grasp my thought and my concept, right? So I wouldn't
Yep.
say that you have to do better. Again, this is a learning process for both of us. Like, we're both going through this. We're both learning one another. I think overall, that's the overall goal. Because if I succeed, you're going to succeed, and vice versa. If I'm
Yeah.
not able to be honest with you and you be honest with me and us work cohesively in this, that, that makes for, and even if we didn't work out, still being able to communicate that and walk away with mutual
Yes.
respect, right, is still,
Yeah, I agree with that.
because sometimes it might not work out, but it doesn't mean that I dislike you or I dislike
Mm-hmm.
you. I mean, it just may, for whatever reason, may not be a good fit. So like I said, for us, I
Yeah.
think it's fortunate. It may not be that fortunate for others with their first or their second match, but the
Mm.
resource as a whole is very
If
beneficial.
there is one word you could use to describe your experience with me, what would that one word be?
Really, one word? Can I do two?
Go for it. Go for it.
Optimistically efficient.
What was the unexpected benefit you experienced from using my services?
The fact that we are able to communicate virtually
Mm-hmm.
with very minimal issues or problems, right? Because you being in another country, literally a whole nother country, hours, difference. There was concern for that, but that probably is an unexpected benefit, like not having to have issues
Tell
communicating.
me, can you please share a testimony or comment regarding the benefits of hiring a virtual assistant? Could you just tell whoever's watching this what they would gain from having a virtual assistant?
Well, I would say if you are someone who has like a plate that's piled high with so many things, personal, professional, whatever, the benefit to having a virtual assistant is being able to buy your time back, first and foremost. Finding a skillful, resourceful virtual assistant to buy your time back, and to build that relationship with that VA so that as time goes on, you're not only building, it's not only your assistant, but you're building a partnership, right? A relationship with someone who ideally becomes an extension of you and tends to start to think like you so that you can truly, because I know for me, my goal is, long-term goal is to have that with you so that I can say, hey, this is, this, and this. And I know that we're so kind of on the same wavelength that you would really be able to make a decision based on how I think, right? Because we're in this kind of day in and day out.
Yeah.
But to have that extension of yourself that you trust so that so the person doesn't feel like they're overwhelmed or they have to take care of all of this, because we don't, right? And I mean, for some type A personalities and self-control is a big issue, because we want to make sure, in somebody like me who is so detail oriented, right?
Yeah.
And I know it annoys people, but I also know that they appreciate it when it's what it's for, because the devil is in the details. And if you're not paying attention to that, like, it could set you back a long way. It could set you back a little bit, but it could set you back a long way. And my thing is, do it right the first time. That way you don't have to clean up a bigger mess. And that's where I'm gonna get you at. Like, you're gonna be so detailed. People are gonna be like, you're annoying me, but you're gonna be like, you'll appreciate it later.
Yep, exactly.
Do it. But yeah, it's a super efficient way to get things done, especially now in this day where although there is great benefit to being with one another and like you said, exchanging that energy and vibing off of one another.
Mm-hmm.
When you can't do that, having this option is just as efficient.
Also really glad that upon when we first met, you had work ready. Okay, you had your mindset on what exactly you wanted to do, and you had work ready. Now, I know some people won't have that. Would you suggest or would you recommend that people have something ready, or would you have the virtual assistant prepare that work for them?
I think it can work both ways. So I think having work ready, right? It's like you're jumping in and you're able to say, hey, this is what I expect. This, whatever that conversation looks like. I think having work ready is a really good thing. I also think though that if you don't necessarily have work ready, but you have an idea of what's to come, like you're vamping up for it, right? It wouldn't
Yeah.
be a bad idea to start proactively searching for someone or interviewing different people to get a good feel for who may work for what you have coming along, right? But if you just
Yeah.
absolutely don't know, I mean, there's no purpose of having a VA if you don't even know what's going to happen.
True.
The way that you do your reports, the way that you do your time, you're like, yes, like perfect.
Okay.
You're I literally don't have any complaints, thankfully. And I say that like
That's really good to know.
really like real talk, like I just don't have any complaints,
Thank you so much for this testimony. I really appreciate it.